Good morning, my caffeinated treasure hunters. Welcome back to Morning Coffee Chat, where the coffee brews slow, the clues roll in slower, and the only thing faster than our theories is how quickly we can get distracted by another chapter in Beyond the Map's Edge. Now, I don't know about you, but this hunt has been living rent-free in my head all week, especially that clue, water's silent flight. Where does it lead? Or maybe the bigger question is, where does it start? Because if you get the starting point wrong, you might as well be fishing for trout in a swimming pool. That's when the Grandpa Fitzwater chapters came creeping into my mind again. That and the fact that I drove past the London Bridge this weekend. Yes, that London Bridge, the one Arizona decided to adopt and plop down in Lake Havasu, which, by the way, is still in Arizona and not in England, in case anyone's planning to row across the Thames for this hunt. Anyway, on page 131, Grandpa's wearing a little pin that says, "I am quite deaf." It's written about in the text, but you can see it in the photo on page 129. And here's where it gets interesting. That same page mentions a dragon twice. Twice. What's going on there? A little nod to chasing our dragons in this hunt? Or is it just Justin throwing shiny scales at us to see if we'll follow them? The deaf pin got me thinking about the Helen Keller quote Justin posted on Instagram. Pair that with water's silent flight, and I wondered, if you were deaf, wouldn't water be silent? Could that be the key to understanding the clue? Maybe it's less about the sound of the water and more about its motion, or even its destination. But Fitzwater's chapter isn't just about hearing, it's also heavy on weight. The treasure's weight, to be exact, 60 pounds. On page 199, there's Fitzwater again, holding binoculars right next to a paragraph describing that weight and calling the treasure's hiding place a location that whispers of personal lore and secrets. In movie terms, this is the part where the soundtrack swells and the camera zooms in dramatically. This isn't even the only time we see him scanning the horizon. On page 11, there's another picture of Fitzwater with his binoculars. The caption? Fish and Game Warden. Fitzwater scanning the horizon through his ever-present binoculars. Grandpa never met a faraway view he didn't need to inspect closer. That line makes me think, maybe part of this hunt involves spotting something at a distance. The checkpoint, a landmark, a mountain range, and then making your way toward it. Now, about that 200 feet Justin keeps mentioning, let's put it in perspective. That's the length of a hockey rink, or 2.5 tennis courts, or 1.25 Olympic swimming pools, about 80 walking steps, the wingspan of a Boeing 777, or the combined height of 2 cottonwood trees. It's close, but far enough to miss something if you're not paying attention. And if people have been that close to the checkpoint without realizing it, then it's either brilliantly hidden or deceptively ordinary. One paragraph that really stood out to me is on page 13. Fitzwater, Blacktail Deer Creek, patience. Each cast a story waiting to be told, each ripple a whispered secret from the depths. Tell me that doesn't tie directly to Justin's description of the hidden location. Personal lore and secrets. He specifically mentions the Big Hole's crystal waters and the Jefferson's winding banks. Then he takes us right into a sensory memory. Pine needles from the Christmas tree mug in the lawyer's office transporting him back to those northern summers. And here's the kicker at the end of the page. Each one as true as the North Star and twice as bright. Now Sirius, the dog star, is about twice as bright as Polaris. Polaris might get the fame, but it's actually only the 50th brightest star in the night sky. Could this be a subtle hint towards celestial navigation? Because we've heard that term pop up before in checkpoint discussions. Which brings me back to binoculars. Fitzwater appears twice in this book with them. Could that mean we'll need them BOTG to spot something? Maybe double arcs? Maybe the checkpoint? From afar? A few people online seem to think so. One comment I read said, "Binoculars for double arcs is a great concept." Another, "Grandpa always had his binoculars." And that's the kind of simple detail that could be a massive clue. But here's what happens every time I try to focus on one clue. The book pulls me somewhere else. This morning I sat down to talk about water's silent flight, and here I am, neck deep in Fitzwater, 200-foot distances, Christmas tree mugs, dragons, and Sirius the dog star. And honestly, I think that's the point. This book wants us chasing our own dragon tails. So here's my takeaway for today. Maybe water's silent flight isn't just about sound. Maybe it's about perspective, seeing the silent thing from a distance before you understand what it is. And maybe Grandpa Fitzwater, the man who never met a faraway view he didn't need to inspect closer, is showing us exactly how to approach his hunt. In the meantime, keep your coffee hot, your binoculars handy, and your curiosity wide open. We may not have the full picture yet, but we've definitely got the lens.